Hey, what is going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Mid-Level Media channel, your hub for everything physical media and entertainment. I am Ken. Today, guys, we are here to talk about Poltergeist 2 on 4K from Scream Factory. So I don't feel like I've been talking about Scream Factory enough in 2024, and to be honest, they just haven't been releasing stuff that's gotten me super interested. I feel like this is my first 4K review of a Scream Factory title since Killer Clowns from Outer Space. So I'm excited to dive back into a Scream Factory 4K because they usually do great work. Did they do great work with Poltergeist 2? We're going to talk about it in today's video, but before I get into it, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button if you haven't already. We talk about all things physical media on this channel, Blu-rays, 4Ks, owning the movies that you love, all that stuff there behind me every single day. So if you like that kind of stuff, hit that subscribe button. Also hit the like button and let me know your thoughts on Poltergeist 2, The Other Side. Is this one of your favorite horror sequels? Let me know in the comment section below. Also, let me know if you plan on getting this 4K. I will say this 4K is currently $32.99 on Amazon, and I believe it is $36.99 on the actual Scream Factory website, so it is cheaper to get on Amazon. I will link that down below in the description, guys, if you do want to purchase this based on whether or not I recommend it today. Now, I do have the Poltergeist 2 Blu-ray edition. This is the MGM Blu-ray right here. I do not have the Scream Factory Collector's Edition that they did a number of years ago. I feel like that was back in like 2016 or 2017. They also did Poltergeist 3, which I hope they do a 4K for at some point. Now, getting into the actual film itself, this movie was directed by Brian Gibson. Tobe Hooper did not come back to direct this sequel to Poltergeist. This came out in 1986, and I think it's a perfectly adequate horror sequel. I do not think it's as good as the original, but the original, in my opinion, is an all-time horror classic, masterpiece for all time. Like, that movie is just one of my favorite horror movies ever. It's up there with The Exorcist, with The Shining, with Amityville Horror. It's just one of the greatest horror movies of all time. So to follow that up is very difficult. And to be completely honest, the original Poltergeist did not need a sequel, but we were in the era of sequels and the 80s. That's just what it was. Like, if it was a popular horror film, it got a sequel. That's what happened 9 times out of 10. I mean, even The Exorcist got a sequel. Now, that was in the 70s, but even The Exorcist got a sequel. Most movies back then, if they were popular horror movies, they got sequels, so that's what they did. Poltergeist does not need a sequel. That movie ends pretty perfectly, but they find an interesting way to continue it and to expand on the lore in the second one, and I appreciate that. When I go back and watch this, because I don't remember loving this one when I was a kid, I actually have more memories watching the third one than I do the second one when I was a kid. But watching it now, and I rewatched it, I think, a couple of years ago, like 2 or 3 years ago, I watched it on Blu-ray. But rewatching it now, like, I appreciate how they expand on the lore and they try to tie it into the first one. And I like the fact that this is a movie that does take place pretty much, I think, months or maybe days, weeks. It's not very long after the first one actually happens. They tie it into the end of the first one pretty perfectly. So I always like movies. I have a fondness for movies that just take place like right after the original. The same cast comes back. The same family comes back. You got Craig T. Nelson. You got Jo Beth Williams in this movie as the mom and dad. And they're really great together in these movies. Like, they just have great mom and dad chemistry. You also got Heather O'Rourke, who does a great job returning as Carol Ann. She's a little bit older in this film, and it's always kind of sad when you see her and you know just how she ends up in her life. But she does a terrific job here. She's kind of the emotional centerpiece of the film. She's who everybody's trying to protect because that's who the poltergeist, the ghosts, are after. Reverend Kane is after. And speaking of Reverend Kane to me is the reason that Poltergeist 2 kind of stands out and is memorable, because he is an extremely iconic horror villain. Like, just the look of him in this movie is super creepy and unsettling the moment you meet him in the little outdoor shopping mall that they're in the beginning of the film. But the scene, and we'll talk about it again when we talk about the 4K, where he's walking up to the house singing in the rain, it is freaking chilling still to this day, very unsettling. So this movie also has some really great like practical effects moments and things that happen. The kid with the braces, and that scene is super, like, it's really cool to watch because it's like they actually had to like make all that, and it's very intricate and very detailed, and I think it's excellent. So the movie's got great effects work. It's got great practical effects. I think it looks really great visually. It's fantastic. I don't really know too much more of his work, Brian Gibson, but I think he does a really good job directing. And like I said, it really is a solid horror sequel. It's just the first one is up here and this one's just kind of down here. You can't compare it to the first one, but you have all the chemistry, you know, that the family has carried over from the first one. I think they're still great in this movie. Great special and practical effects. It expands on the lore, and Reverend Kane is just an iconic horror figure at this point. He's fantastic in this movie and really makes the movie stand out. So I like Poltergeist 2 a lot. Again, I could never like compare it or hold it up to the original, but Poltergeist 2 is a very, very solid horror sequel for sure. And if you haven't seen it, if you've only seen the first Poltergeist, I definitely think it is worth having in your collection. Now, getting into the 4K restoration here, guys. This is a native 4K restoration with Dolby Vision, HDR10. It also has a Blu-ray in it as well with the new 4K scan. And when I tell you that this is one of the most stunning, breathtaking Scream Factory 4Ks that I've ever seen, I'm not lying, guys. Like, Scream Factory continues to top themselves. I wish I was more interested in some of the 4Ks they did over the summer because they do such great work. Like, they are really firing on all cylinders at this point, guys. Just giving us some of their peak 4Ks, I feel like. And Poltergeist 2 looks phenomenal in 4K. And when you compare it to this MGM Blu-ray, I have not seen the Scream Factory Blu-ray, but when you compare it to this, like, it's night and day. This is extremely dull and lifeless and just does not look good. The clarity just really is not there. It doesn't look like all the way DVD quality, but it's not great. Like, when you compare this to this, it is night and day. This looks phenomenal. First off, this movie's got a ton of like outdoor sequences. Like, they move in with the grandma, her mom, and she's got this outdoor garden with tons of green grass and flowers. And when they're outside, like, eating and having like a little family get together and picnic outside, you see all those like colorful flowers and the green of the grass, like all that stuff. The garden just looks so incredible in 4K. The colors are super vibrant and it just looks awesome with that HDR. But just like throughout, like, there's such detail, there's such clarity. It is really a stunning 4K that has the perfect amount of grain in it as well to just remind you, like I always say, guys, that you're watching an actual film. But there's such great clarity, there's such great detail. The scene with Reverend Kane when he walks up to the house and it is raining on him and you see the rain dripping off of his jacket that he's wearing, off the hat that he's wearing as he's walking up, the water dripping, the incredible detail, the clarity that you see in that moment, in that scene, is just phenomenal. It is otherworldly. Like, it's like they went to another planet to grab the perfect 4K transfer and brought it back to Earth. I'm telling you guys, you may think I'm embellishing with this. I was stunned. I was blown away with this 4K of Poltergeist 2. I thought it looked absolutely phenomenal. And I would even go as far as to say, I thought Poltergeist from Warner Brothers was a great transfer. I think Poltergeist 2 is better. I really do. Which is a shame because Poltergeist is like an all-time classic. It deserves the best, but Poltergeist 2 is freaking phenomenal in 4K. I can't get over that scene with Reverend Kane as he's walking up. Such incredible detail in his face, like such incredible detail in the face. It just makes it even more creepy and unsettling because you can see more and you can notice more. And like I said, there's so many incredible like practical and special effects sequences. Some really disgusting like imagery that's super like gooey and gushy and really gnarly looking. And that stuff looks so good on 4K. So this movie to me on 4K, top tier. It is one of, in my opinion, one of the best 4Ks of the year. I would honestly, even though Killer Clowns really stands out because it's like super colorful and vibrant, I think that overall the detail here, the level of detail and just how good it looks in 4K, I think that this movie is the best Scream Factory 4K that they have done all year that I have seen. Now, I'm getting ready to watch a bunch of them because I've got a lot that I'm excited about, but they are just really firing on all cylinders when it comes to their 4K. And this to me is just a perfect 4K restoration, how I want these classic 80s horror movies to look on 4K. So as for the 4K, guys, top tier recommendation. Now let's get into the sound, guys, because they upgraded the sound here to a Dolby Atmos sound mix. Now I do not have that Dolby Atmos setup, guys, that full Atmos setup. I've got a soundbar, I've got a subwoofer. My soundbar kind of simulates that Dolby Atmos, but the Reverend Kane scene, guys, I can't get over it. And you hear it in the actual like title screen when you boot it up. Like they have the Reverend Kane sequence in the title screen, just the noise of it, him walking up with the rain and stuff. But the rain coming down as he's walking up and as he's singing, It sounds so great. It's so incredibly immersive. Like, you feel the rain around you. You feel like you're on the doorstep watching Reverend Cain walk up and talk to you. That's how immersive that sound makes you feel with that Dolby Atmos mix. And there's so many incredible like sounds and thumps and bumps. It's a haunted house movie that has all kinds of great like crazy things going on throughout it. That sounds so great with that Dolby Atmos mix. Again, I don't have the full setup, but I imagine if you do have that full setup, you are really going to appreciate the sound quality here because it is absolutely phenomenal. So you got to give it the Scream Factory for upgrading that audio to the Dolby Atmos mix. And you also got the 5.1 and you got the 2.0 as well. So 3 audio options here. And getting into the packaging, guys, you have the classic poster art right here, which is great. Like, you know, everybody complained about the Poltergeist, you know, cover art on the Warner Brothers release. And it's like, sometimes, guys, when you have such an incredible poster already, and Scream Factory does this with all their 4Ks, they just give you the original poster because I think they're kind of smart and they're like, people just want the original poster. Let's do that for all our 4Ks. But there's also people that complain that there's no like new artwork as well. So really you can't win, but this is such a great poster. Just slap that on there with the 4K banner and it looks great. So I love the cover of this right here. Flip it on the back. You got some good images from the film right there. You got the info on all the special features. I'll kind of show you the synopsis up there at the top. Down there, you got the specs if you want to check those out. Take it out of the slipcover. You got the 4K case right here. Flip it around. All the same stuff. No reversible cover art, but you don't usually get reversible cover art on the 4Ks. Every now and then they'll surprise you with some random reversible cover art, but there's the disc art right there on the 4K. I've got the Blu-ray back in the player right there, so I can't show that off, but it's pretty much the same artwork. But you got one of the visuals of one of the monsters and creatures from the movie, which again just looks phenomenal in 4K. Now, getting into the special features here, guys, this is the criticism that I'll give because Scream Factory has shown that they're willing to do new special features and new commentaries for their 4K upgrades. There is nothing new here. So if you have that Scream Factory Blu-ray from back in the day, you're getting all the same special features. You're not getting anything new, which is always a little bit of a disappointment. But the special features that this does have are really good special features. It's about an hour of new interviews. You got an interview with the kid in this movie, the boy in this movie. I'm forgetting his name, Robbie. Robbie in the film, the older version of Robbie, the adult version. And again, these are interviews from back in 2016, 2017 when this came out. You got an interview with him, which is pretty good. He talks about meeting Steven Spielberg back in the day and how he helped him as a child actor and future filmmaker himself. So that's a really good interview. You got an interview with the special effects team as well, which is a good interview. So just some good stuff on here, guys. Almost an hour of new interviews. Well, new for back in the day, but you got an hour of new, interviews and material to dive into. You got 2 audio commentaries. You got an audio commentary with David Furtney, and you got an audio commentary with Michael Gross. On here as well. And you got some old archival stuff as well. You got 2 making ofs, which I was kind of disappointed that they were both like 6 minutes long because I was like, okay, a making of, this has got to be like at least 30 minutes. But both of these making ofs are only 6 minutes, but they're from like way back in the day. You got making of Poltergeist 2, they're back. You got let's see, Ghostmakers, the making of Poltergeist 2. So 2 making ofs in this. You got theatrical trailer, TV spots, still galleries, all the usual stuff, that we usually get with the supplemental material on these releases. But at the end of the day, guys, you're upgrading Poltergeist 2 for the visuals, for the audio, for the movie, to have it in the best possible picture quality. And Scream Factory absolutely delivers in that aspect. It would be nice to have some new special features, but they didn't give us that. But otherwise, guys, I have to give this a top tier, high recommendation. I really enjoyed Poltergeist 2 on 4K, and I think that you will too. But thank you all so much for watching this review. Like, comment, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Turn on those bell notifications for all future videos and review, and follow me on all of my social media accounts. Those links are down below in the description, and we'll see you next time.